is Dr. Larry Dawsey. I'm the author of the recent book, One Mind, How Our Individual Consciousness is Part of a Greater Mind and Why It Matters. I hope you'll listen often to 21st Century Radio. Dr. Hieronimus talks about what matters. The subject matter is crucial. Our future may depend on it. And I hope you will follow me at my website, www.larrydawseymd.com.
Brother Larry, been at the front edge for decades. Welcome back to 21st Century Radio. I'm Dr. Zohara Hieronimus, and joining us now is Rolfing teacher and practitioner of 30 years, Tessy Brungardt. Tessy will not only explain what Rolfing or structural integration is, but also how to use our breathing and bodies in ways that are supportive to greater flexibility and comfort. And how, because everyone during the pandemic of 2020 is using their computers more, being online a lot more. She'll talk a little bit about how we can use our bodies so they're not impacted in negative ways. Thank you for being part of our Little Taste of Ruscombe series, Tessy.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. So,
why don't we start just so that we have done what really some people say, well, I've never heard of Rolfing, what is it? Talk to us a little bit about what Rolfing or structural integration is.
Well, the work of Rolfing came out, is the brainchild of Dr. Ida Rolf, who began this work in the early part of the last century. And her idea, her basic idea, is that it matters to human beings that we're organized in the field of gravity. And this was the kernel of her ideas. And she developed a way of approaching work with people through both connective tissue manipulation and education, which means becoming aware of how you use your body, to help people work through a series of sessions to become in a better alignment within the field of gravity. So that's sort of the core of it. And what a ROLFER does is when you come to see someone who does structural integration is look at your structure and talk to you about what your structural issues are, and then design a series of sessions to help bring things into better alignment and greater function.
So, for instance, I know you well, and after almost 30 years in each other's presence, you can look at a person and tell by their posture, the way they walk, or they sit, or they talk, a lot about their bodies and the way any person lives in their body. So given during the pandemic, so many people are using Zoom and online teaching, and, already people have chronic patterns like not sitting up straight. Talk to us about this situation of computer use and the body.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to say computers are good for my business, and this was true before the current time of the pandemic. Already people were spending excessive time sitting and under stress, and now it's just exacerbated. And people have become so focused on the screen that they forget to pay attention. They become focused in the virtual world and forget to pay attention to their own physical reality where they are. And this leads to problems in their arms, hands, shoulders, lower back, headaches, neck trouble, all of those kinds of things that come from poor sitting and habitual pattern sitting. And so one of the things that helps tremendously is sitting up straight, but most people don't have any idea what that really means. They think it's kind of straightening, tightening their shoulders, or, holding themselves up. But the real way to sit up straight is to find a comfortable chair with a firm bottom where your hips are at about the same height as your knees. And then you try to let your pelvis, your hips basically, be in a comfortable position that has a little bit of an arch in your back. Because most people curve, like in a C curve, and you want to have a little bit of an arch. And you can even use a pillow to help you have that. And if you get the base correct, the whole rest of your spine will be more likely.
So you mean put a pillow behind your lower back,
in
your chair. And particularly, as people age, there tends to be a slumping forward, and from there everything starts to fall apart. Your head goes down, your shoulders roll forward, your heart gets impacted. So what other things can people do? And they have a lot of children who, grandchildren or children who are online as well. And we know what it does to the electromagnetic body, which interferes with our immune system. But what other things can people do while they're at their computer? I know as an author, when I spent thousands of hours a year writing, I had chronic, carpal tunnel and elbow pain, and that's all gone now because I'm not writing a book.
Mm-hmm. So there are a few simple mechanical things that you can do beyond sitting on your sits bones, is what we would call it, right on your pelvis, and having a little bit of support in your lower back. And one thing that you can do is to be sure that your computer is at a good level. And if you have a keyboard, that can be at a height where your arms can rest, and you want the screen to be at a level where you can look straight out at it.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have to set it on a box or some books or something so that you're not always looking down, but you put the screen where your head will orient straight out, and that will help keep your head on top.
Except that most people, myself included, I've written all my books on my laptop, so you can't really separate your keyboard from your screen. But I did try the box, what you said, and I found sometimes standing and putting it at the kitchen counter on a box, it was all better adjusted than when I sat.
Yes, that points to a crucial thing, which is standing, sitting, doing different positions, because we're just not designed to sit in one position or to stand in one position. We're designed for motion. So if you're going to spend a lot of time on the computer, try to find a place where you can sit, then find a place where you can stand and move around. And likewise, if you're using a mouse, try switching out different types of mice, and also even using your left hand sometimes, so that you start to use different parts of your body and you don't get a chronic repetitive use situation happening from using your computer the exact same way for hours on end.
Well, and then another reality is because so many millions of people have been at home or laid off from work, there's a lot of fear, and I don't think there's much in the general literature that talks enough about what this does to our overall bodily structure. So maybe you can talk a little bit about, what happens when we get stuck in a fear mode versus what we can do to kind of lighten our load about what does this mean for our lives.
Mm-hmm. So, living in the manifest form as a human, frightening things happen to us right from the start of our lives. And we all develop habitual patterns for relating to the world. And one of the patterns that we develop is what do we tense up? What tension do we have in ourselves in response to what's difficult or frightening in the world? And these kind of patterns start by the time we're probably 2 or 3 years old. We've already got some pattern that is a habitual pattern, and maybe we copied it off of a parent or a sibling, or maybe we've invented it for ourselves, and we just keep on doing that in the face of what's difficult. And so right now, while people have a lot of fear and stress, I imagine many people are spending a lot of time in their habitual pattern of tension. And this has consequences in our body, leads to shoulder pain, back pain, neck pain, because it's not in our design. And so what we want to do is interrupt this habitual pattern. And one thing to do is to disengage from your computer from time to time every half hour. Stand up and move around, look outside, change your frame of reference, literally. But the other thing is to start engaging in to let go of this habitual tension we have in response to what's hard in our lives. And part of every pattern of tension has some habitual breathing pattern. And maybe we inhale and hold our breath. Maybe we exhale and hold our breath. Maybe we clench our jaws and don't let the air move easily. But there's some breathing inhibition that's part of these patterns. One of the best things that we can do to unhook the stress and to change the pattern of response in our bodies is to consciously change our breathing pattern. And that will start to undo the rest of the habitual pattern. So there are very many types of breathing techniques in all the different yogic traditions and Taoist traditions and all different kinds. But there are some very simple things that one can do that will help to unhook this, and particularly when we're aware of our upset, but any time, to just stop and have some breaths. And one classic one is to stop and just inhale for instance, a count of 5.
Through the nose or through the mouth?
Through the nose, just to take a breath and inhale, counting to 5 easily, and then exhale, counting to 6. And then you inhale again, and just nice and easy. Breathe in for 1 count and breathe out for a slightly longer count. And this will help to engage the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest part, and of our autonomic nervous system, and will help us to relieve the chronic stress that we're carrying around as a culture right now, and each individual. So that's a very simple technique that will really help change the pattern of tension. Mm-hmm. And you can also, if you want to take it a further step, you can inhale to a count of 5 and just pause at the top, and then exhale to a count of 6. Just do that a few times. And it's amazing how effective that is at helping to disengage the tension and the stressful thoughts that are helping to create that.
Yeah, it's so interesting what you described. There's a gentleman who I'm going to have on, Dr. Stephen Porges, when time allows, who's done a great work on what's called the Polyvagal System.
Yes.
And it's all about the sympathetic and parasympathetic system and how people, all of us as humans, when we don't feel safe, what it does to our entire body systems, our physiology, our thinking, our feeling, our breathing, our digesting. And what you speak to, breathing is such a big part of sort of recalibrating the way our body is responding to our circumstances, which change. But I also know, because you're a ROLFER and your work involves touching people, there are a lot of providers around the world who are considering changing their disciplines, going into teaching rather than touching. Will you talk to us a bit about the importance of touching and how one can do this safely, and also your attitude as a person who makes a living touching people, how you see this entire pandemic 2020, both the lessons and the opportunities we have?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is something we have to learn to live with. This is out in the world, and we're going to learn to live with this. And the basic needs of human beings did not change just because another illness came along, and we are social creatures, and we require touch for our well-being and health. And just basic touch is something that we need. We can't give that up and be healthy. It actually strengthens our blood. It helps relieve stress and tension. It engages our parasympathetic nervous system. That an intelligent and compassionate touch is important for our health, both mentally and physically. It's all of a piece. So we're going to have to continue to touch each other. And my work can only be done through touch. I can help educate people and talk about things, but if something is fixed in the connective tissue of the body, it needs manipulation to let go. And people are still going to fall down and hurt themselves, and they're still going to overuse their bodies in incorrect ways, and they're going to need work. And so, to me, I just feel like the benefits of touch far outweigh the risk of not touching as long as we take care. And it seems to me that if we wear our masks, both the practitioner and the client, and we, clean the area, wash our hands, don't touch our faces, that we can learn to work with this and foster our well-being, which is really crucial at a time like this. So I do teach, but I teach a touch skill. So
right.
There's no way to do what I do without touching, and to not do it would be a terrible loss for people.
Yeah, I like the Ayurvedic approach to self-touch, which is a form of massage using certain oils. And if you don't know what dosha type you are, and you'd have to look that up. We don't have time to describe all that. Just go get some olive oil out of your kitchen and rub olive oil into your skin, before you take a bath. And you don't want to get in bed with olive oil all over your body. It'll stain your sheets, and it won't come out easily either. But to rub your arms, in some of the other Peter Levine's work of trauma, to tap your arms and tap your legs and say, this is my arm, and this is my chest, and this is my belly, and this is my neck. And simply by tapping lightly any place in the body, it brings awareness to that part of the body, as well as oxygenation, blood flow increases. And with massage, which I do, and it has helped my fight or flight condition tremendously, and I can vouch for it working. Plus, it's really good for your skin.
Yes.
But so self-massage is also an option to just be sure that we're still in touch with our own body, not just those we love and those around us. What else would you like to share with us? We have about 2 minutes left to talk to us about, how we can take care of ourselves during very stressful times using your awareness as a ROLFER.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I would say to do all the things that you need to do for your own well-being, including exercise and paying attention to how you're using your body and space. And those are the things that I think of as a ROLFER.
Mm-hmm.
Just as a human, I think that we just have to remember to be compassionate towards ourselves and others, and to remember that this is a new way of looking at things, but humans are adaptable, and together we'll figure out how to live with this, and to remember that this will move on and we'll figure it out, and it's real, and it won't remain the same, just like all the other things.
Exactly.
And to just really remember that, and that will do more for our well-being than anything, I think.
Amen to that. And be grateful, as our prior guest Linda Watkins talked about, gratitude, and refocus your attention when you're feeling dragged down by your fears or your negative thoughts. And to remember that life is life. We have opportunities to learn. And in Kabbalah, which I'm a student of, within every difficulty is that silver lining. And the hidden good is greater even than the revealed good when everything's just fine and Jim Dandy, as they used to say. Thank you, Tessy Brungardt. You can reach Tessy's office at 410-367-4075. That's 410-367-4075. And all our providers can be found at Ruscombe, RUSCOMBE.org.